You know what I hate is like walls of like gory body parts protruding out of like a bathroom wall, and like there's one right behind me, isn't there? Welcome to the Horror Nights Gauntlet. Happy Halloween, and welcome back to the only show that pits Universal Orlando's Halloween Horror Nights haunted houses against each other in a life-or-death bloody battle for my amusement and the amusement of the ancient ones beyond the wall. My name is Dakota, and I'll be your host as we sort through, defile, distinguish, and disseminate 142 of Universal Orlando's Halloween Horror Nights haunted houses. This week we'll be starting at 130 and working our way through 126. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, coming in at 130. House 130 is the very first appearance of this series on the list, but it is not the first appearance of this house. 2015's The Walking Dead, The Living and the Dead. This was located in the Parade Warehouse, and it was, as far as I'm concerned, the worst Walking Dead haunted house. Let's see, I'm going to give you the description. From the burnt ashes of Terminus, through the flooded community food pantry basement, and into the darkened churchyard, hordes of walkers surround you as you relive gut-wrenching moments of the most recent season. I like how they've reached a point, too, where, like, even in the descriptions, they're like, I don't know, it's like season 6 or so. The most recent season, like, I don't know anymore. You're here for The Walking Dead, right? Forget Jack. It's 25, you're here for The Walking Dead. This is, there's going to be a lot of Walking Dead on this show, and there's a lot of Walking Dead at Horror Nights. This is my first house that I did on both coasts, and so I did it here, I did it in Orlando, I did it in Hollywood, and it sucked in Hollywood too. Why is it where it is and not at the bottom? There's still like elements of it that aren't complete shit. I don't know, this house, it kind of sucked. It was okay. I liked the Terminus stuff. I remember there being like a guy getting like chopped up and like getting sprayed with blood. And I remember like the trucks at the end. And like, honestly, we're really lucky that it was an anniversary year in Florida. Because in California, the marketing for the whole fucking event was still Walking Dead. And so Hollywood's event, the marketing was literally like the back of the truck with the zombie, like, ugh. And I just think about how like we had this like beautiful like Jack marketing with the like clown and circus shit, and like I have a house shirt from 25, and I have a house shirt from 2015 in Hollywood, and like when you hold them next to each other, it's just like night and day. And that really speaks to the houses as well. I don't remember much about this house. I watched a walkthrough and I was like, oh yeah, that. But what I love too, there's this there's this like church scene in the house, and you get to it and there's the like Episcopal sign or whatever, and someone got a picture of it, and I think in like a Unmasking the Horror tour, and you can tell even the scenic team is just like f***ing over it. Like the art is just like kind of like hastily painted. Like it doesn't look like professionally printed like the way that I'm sure it did in the show. It just kind of like is very rushed looking. I don't know what this church looks like. Maybe it looks exactly like this in the show and I'm an asshole, but I have it on good authority that the scenic team was over The Walking Dead. I don't have a lot of positive memories of this. One of my favorite things about the parade building is that you always do get really nice views of the cast as they do cast change because they'll walk past you. And I remember really liking that, and there's some like good pictures of that. And I know I'm looking at my computer screen, but I'm looking at pictures. I remember I've had numerous experiences. I used to actually watch this show, and I stopped. Probably like I watched this season. Probably the season after this, or in the middle of this season. But I specifically remember on multiple occasions the haunted house like spoiling something because I was waiting for it to drop on Netflix. And my cousin, who has like a huge f***ing mouth, we're like, hello. We're like walking through the house, and like there's that scene where like Glenn gets like pounded by walkers, and you think he's dead. And I guess she didn't know at the time either, and she's like, oh yeah, that's where Glenn dies. And I was like, what the f***, bitch? I remember specifically how like in the interviews with Mike Aiello, they're like, the basement is flooded. Like, oh, it's complete. It's the flooded seat. The bloated walkers are flooded. And you like walked in, and they're in like kiddie pools, and they're like, I just like picture like zombies with like water wings and like rubber ducks, and like,
But they had to wear special.
No, I do remember something about that. Yeah, the actors in the water scenes, they're getting shrivel dick. I don't know if they were getting shrivel dick, but they were. I think they were getting like foot infections and like fungal infections, and maybe they were getting shrivel dick. And they're like, they had to put them in like wetsuits, and I remember like, it's specifically, this was like, it was bad to begin with. Like nothing about this was cute, but the fact that like the house, like they were really f***ing hyping this in the marketing, like, just you wait, the whole basement is flooded, like you're not gonna believe it, and like. You know, I'm thinking logistically, because I'm a psychopath, I'm thinking like, oh, well, it's probably going to be like an elevated like pool on either side, and you know, they'll be right next, or maybe they'll put a bridge over it, but that seems very dangerous for the guests. And instead it's like, literally like big kiddie pools. And these guys, I remember the actors really being over it, even on the first night, they're just like, my dick is cold.
There's water going in my bowl.
There's water in my ass. I didn't wipe well enough, and all this water smells like my shit. And coming in at 129 is a haunted house from 2013, a sequel to a very popular house that I don't know if I would say was super well received. I mean, I have it this low. But this is going to be 2013's Havoc Derailed. It was located in the disaster queue, and the description says, hang on tight aboard a militaristic train convoy that is secretly transporting the Dogs of War, a genetically engineered super soldier outfit. These bloodthirsty maniacs are only bent on mayhem and destruction of a speeding train. This is Havoc. And it was okay. Okay, so I guess the plot of Havoc Dogs of War, the first house from 2010, without like getting deeply into it, is that it was kind of a military base, like this very like brutalistic like architecture, cement with like, the cast was really the star of the show. And the cast, everyone would like rave like, oh my god, they were so committed. They all shaved their f***ing heads, and like even the women, everyone was bald, and like everyone had like really aggressive energy, and it was like set against like strobe lights and f***ing like these like really industrial settings, and like it was cool, and like it was a lot of people's favorite house in 2010. So Havoc Derailed, you know, felt very like, ooh, it's only been 3 years and we're getting a sequel. How exciting. And the house, I mean, I guess it wasn't my least favorite house that year. It probably still was Afterlife. It was the same year as Afterlife. I don't think my, I don't know where I'm putting Afterlife. I don't think it made it higher than this. So it's still somewhere down there. But Havoc Derailed, the plot is that the genetically engineered super soldiers are like on a fucking train, and it was like an interesting design challenge, right? Because you had like several train cars that you, the guests, kind of walk through on the path, and then it would derail. And then the rest of the house is like you kind of walking through the rubble. And in theory, I love this. In execution, it's kind of a mixed bag. So Haunted House, part of what makes it work is that you're constantly kind of shifting directions, so you don't realistically know exactly where you've entered and exited a room from, and that allows them to put obstacles in your path to have an actor hide behind, or a corridor or whatever. And the problem with Havoc is that it is essentially a straight line with, you know, little corridors that you're entering and exiting between, but you are just walking in a straight line. And so you always know that the scare is going to come from either the left or right side, behind this box, behind this chain thing. And I feel like that was maybe a fundamental error, or maybe a flaw, or just like a design challenge that maybe wasn't overcome with this house.
Was the train section entirely straight?
I remember it mostly, like, just the...
How did they pull that off?
The beginning.
The disaster cue to make the whole train straight, because that was like half the house.
Do we have a blueprint? Is there a blueprint of this house? Is that something we can get our hands on? I'm looking at the Walking Dead notes right now. Jesus Christ. I swear to God, it was like straight. Maybe there might have been some minor curving. He's correcting me. I don't know. This house wasn't good. I remember the crash. I just don't remember, like...
In between cars, it was just...
Very windy?
Really dark and windy.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it was windy.
I'm genuinely curious.
Like, but the whole house wasn't straight. I mean, there was only like 2 or 3 train cars before you get to the derailed part. I remember not really loving it. And once it derails, the issue too just being like, you just kind of have the exterior of like trees and ruined trains. Like, there's not like a lot of decor opportunities. I feel like all of my criticisms for this house are just like really like kind of just me being nitpicky. I just didn't really like it. When the train would crash, I almost said when the plane would. So the train would crash, and John Candy and Steve Martin would get out, and I don't remember the plot of that movie. I can't make a planes, trains, and automobiles joke. I remember like the idea was that it was supposed to like very testosterone, high aggression. Like these are guys that are like roided the fuck out. And like, there's like one night, maybe he was in every night of the show, but like, there's this guy in a cage, and in one of the casts, it was like this very gay man. And I remember like walking by, and he like, most of the guys were like, "Ugh," and he'd reach out and be like, ooh. Like, it's completely, totally not correct, and I loved it. And like, he was my favorite person in the whole house. He was always like,
He was the failed experiment.
he was the successful experiment. He was the experiment gone right. And shout out to the gay Havoc super soldier, because I love you. So like, I love how I had said how the original Havoc was like, it's like a Horror Nights legend, like how committed they were with the shaving the heads and everything. And it was like almost like this like frat boy, like kind of like familial community kind of thing. And they're like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude. And like, I love the idea for there's like the same level of commitment emotionally from the cast for this house, but like maybe like, since this house like wasn't really that well received and like is not a fan favorite, they're like, fuck yeah, man, we're gonna like, I'm going so hard for my cast and this mediocre house. There's a quote from Mike Aiello on the wiki that's like, although, I'm just gonna skip ahead to the, we're either A, going to be really good at it, or B, we're going to learn from it. We do stuff like that every single year because it's the only way this event moves forward with the type of effects we do. And I love that even Mike Aiello, when they're promoting this house, was like, it might suck. Coming in at 128 is a haunted house from 2018, a sequel of a sequel that I think it's the universal favorite, or least favorite, of this franchise. This is an IP. This is 2018's Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, and this was held in the Shrek Theater. I'll read you the official description. I'm gonna read you the one sentence description because the other one is a paragraph. Evil has returned in an all-new house. This masked maniac is unstoppable, and there's nowhere to hide. That tells you absolutely nothing. This is Halloween 4, but it's the third Halloween house at Horror Nights, and I'm sure that was confusing for people who've never seen Halloween movies, and I would have much rather had Halloween 3. This is another house I did in California and Florida, and I didn't like it on either coast. I think I maybe liked it a little more in Florida. So Halloween 2 ends with Michael Myers getting like blown up, and you assume he's dead, and of course he's not because you have to have sequels. And the intention, right, was to end the story at Halloween 2, but that's not how Hollywood works. And Halloween 4, they brought him back, and you know, he goes on a killing spree to go find Laurie's niece? Daughter? Who the fuck is she?
Niece?
Niece? I don't know. I don't remember the character's name. What's her name? Brady? Brady. To find Brady, who is related to him. I like Halloween. I don't know this franchise like that. We get like some cool shit where Michael Myers is like in head bandages and shit, and you know, goes off to find this little girl in clown costume, and there's a lot of like reflective imagery within this film and the original film, whatever. So Halloween 4 kinda, it's okay. But Halloween 4 the house, right, picks up in the hospital, and like, it's a Shrek house. So you have to always start in that like shitty hallway with the like low ceiling. But for the first time, it kind of works because it's like a hospital setting, and normally that hallway you're like, wow, gonna do some Saw stuff, and then it's like the corrugated like ceiling, and it just looks shitty. This big top has fluorescent lights and and office ceiling. Weird. But for Halloween it worked because it was like the lobby of a hospital. But the office ceiling works in Halloween, and it's one of the few compliments I'm gonna give this house. But so I liked the hospital shit. I liked getting to see Michael Myers in the bandages. And honestly, my favorite moment didn't have a scare actor at all, but it's you've gone through a few scenes with like bandaged Michael Myers, and to like explain the transition to you, the audience, that this bandaged character is Michael Myers. They did this like really cool like Pepper's ghost effect where like you see it's a mannequin of Michael Myers like at the end of the hall, and this other Michael Myers mannequin is I'm not gonna explain how Pepper's ghost effect works. There's a Pepper's ghost, and one Michael Myers disappears and the other one appears, and it's Michael Myers in like the classic jumpsuit with the Shatner mask. And really cool, really great moment, best moment in the whole house, and it's like right at the beginning, so just straight downhill from there. You know, you get the no, which is always good. You know what I think of when I think of this house is it's like the last scene, it's like the finale right before, spoiler alert, Brady kills someone, and there's like car headlights, and the sound of a horn is like, and you're like, oh, it's a blinding car, but you get closer and they didn't disguise it whatsoever. And Horror Nights will bring in a fucking car in a haunted house, but this one, it's literally, it's like two lamps that just keep turning on, and it was so shitty. It was just like the icing on the cake of this bad haunted house. And it's also like, because it's the Shrek Theater, for whatever reason, they didn't disguise the like Lord Farquaad shield on the far wall. And it was just something about this like visible lighting effect that's supposed to be a car that you can clearly see is just two lamps, and the Lord Farquaad shield, and Dr. Loomis going, no! Like every 2 fucking seconds. That really just cements, it's just deeply ingrained in my memory of this house, more so than the house itself. And it sucked. Wait, is Brady not the... Oh my god, Brady isn't the kid, is it Jamie Lloyd? It's Jamie. I've been using the wrong name this whole time. Everyone in the comments is like, you stupid fuck! Jamie's the kid in the clown costume, you dumb asshole faggot.
power plant looks like, very much looks like it's still indoors, you know.
Oh, yeah, the power plant looks, I mean, that's, you know, whatever you can do about that. Power plant I didn't hate, but it's not great. I like the loud, like, electrocuting sounds and stuff. That was okay. I feel like the main issue I had with this house, honestly, is that it's a pretty shitty movie that it's based on, but also, like, the sets. Like, I feel like everything kind of felt a little unfinished, a little rough around the edges. Like, I watched a walkthrough before we talked about it, and just to kind of refresh my memory. I'm sorry to scenic and decor. I'm sorry that I'm on your house. I imagine if it looked bad, you didn't like it either. So there was a lot of controversy, I remember, before this house was announced, because everyone knows this, whatever. Every haunted house at Horror Nights leaks like 6 months ahead of time. So everyone always knows what the lineup is. And we knew that Halloween was coming, and the main reason this house was done right was to promote the 2018 Halloween movie with Jamie Lee Curtis, right? And so everyone was like, they're gonna do this new movie, it's gonna be a trailer for the movie, how exciting, or it's gonna be every Halloween with like the best kills, right? And they're gonna end with like some teasers of the new Halloween. So we're gonna like do some teasers and shit, and like it's gonna be the Halloween reboot house, and it wasn't, and I remember that really pissing people off. And I feel like, wasn't there like a behind the scenes that like it was gonna be, and then for whatever reason, yeah, it's Blumhouse. Was 2018? Yeah, 2018 was Blumhouse too as well. I don't know why they didn't do this. That was dumb. That was stupid. Because the Halloween reboot is a much better movie. Danny McBride, he watched a YouTube video of the This Is the End house, and he said, "You guys aren't doing another one of my fucking movies. I'll jerk off all over this fucking house. Fuck you, Halloween Horror Nights." $127 is Horror Nights Nightmares. It's a house from 2004. It was in the Hercules and Xena building. It's, what is that, Soundstage 44. It's fucking impossible to find footage of, and I keep getting this goddamn forum. Let's fucking get into it. Halloween Horror Nights' most infamous characters return, including the director, Jack, the evil... What? Is that it? That's, the one sentence doesn't even include all of the icons that are in this house. So this is an icon house. So Horror Nights Nightmares was a house from 2004, and I'm not going to read you the whole thing 'cause it's long, but it was the very first group icon house. Was this the first like throwback house? Maybe? We call them anniversary houses now, but there was no anniversary going on in 2004. It was, the big deal that year was that it was 2 parks. But Horror Nights Nightmares, you had four icons in it. Does Eddie count? You had the caretaker, the director, Jack, and Eddie each had a room, and the plot of the house was that they were filming a horror movie about the like craziest kills. The plot is essentially that each of the scenes are a scene in the movie they're making. And I don't remember much of it, and there's really like there's nothing. There's hardly anything. What I do remember, I do remember some of the director scene, and being very annoyed that like I guess I just didn't get it. But at the time, even as an adult, I think I would just kind of think this was shitty. There being like chicken wire over just regular like plywood walls and chicken wire. And I guess they wanted this to look like, oh, you're between the sets of the movie. But it just kind of looked like, oh, we didn't want to spend money. And you know I love a cheap-looking haunted house on this show. I remember the director's scene. I feel like I remember they recreated the bathtub commercial, which is like the only iconography they ever used. I love with the director, every actor, they have 2 modes, which is, this is a camera. Or they're always just like, they don't say anything. They never pay these guys to speak because they're always like boys that are like kind of hot and can slick their hair back. But they're just like, this is their other move. Follow me on Instagram. Hot girl. That's like the whole scene. I don't know. It's the only thing guys who play the director ever do. The director, like there was a movie theater and like the screen with the commercials were playing. I remember there were like dead people in the seats. I don't remember much else about him. I remember honestly absolutely nothing about the caretaker or Eddie's scenes. Oh, there is! No, we do have pictures of Eddie. We don't have a picture of the director. Yeah, Eddie looked like there were guys in Eddie masks. I remember the Jack scene though, and I remember enjoying that, but also like kind of judging it because I'm a cunt. And it was like a whole room, like a hallway of the photo booth, which I feel like Jack has deeply evolved beyond that iconography. So back in like 2000 when Jack was first kind of debuted, all of his marketing was like, the commercial was these teenagers went into like, you know, your like classic carnival photo booth, and like while they're getting their pictures taken, Jack manifests and like f***ing murders them. He kisses them. Jack proposes. So that was like his visuals, honestly, for like until like 2006, really. Like Jack was very associated with this photo booth, and I feel like no one remembers that. But so there's all of these little photo booths, and behind the curtains there were Jack actors, and they jump out and scare you. And I remember thinking that was cool, except they were not face paint Jacks, they were mask Jacks, and they were not the really nice masks from Jack Presents 25 Years in 2015. These were like these really, I don't want to insult these artists who make these masks. These were really shitty, like, I remember his hair was rubber, and they were just kind of like, but I do remember the scene being pretty impactful. Maybe it wasn't that shitty. They looked like toys. They looked like masks. They looked like they were wearing Halloween masks. And like, you know, the caretaker and the director and Eddie, they're all like in makeup, and so they're like around the corner and you're like, whoa, we're at the big boy. We're this Jack scene, and it's like guys in like rubber masks. I remember being kind of disappointing. I think that was just sort of the thing, is 2004 was a mixed bag of houses. I mean, Disorientorium, you already know, is like my number like 2, like 3, it's shit. But you also had like really incredible houses. You had like Castle Vampire and the original Ghost Town. You had Hellgate Prison. And so you had this like really run-of-the-mill kind of just bad house that was supposed to represent what has now come to be like legendary, like the icons. And like, it is kind of funny that the like one of the most popular fan sites for Halloween Horror Nights is named after this haunted house. I don't know if they're actually named after the house, but they share a name with this house. That is honestly like not that well remembered or fondly remembered. The website for 2004 was f***ing cool. Sidebar. It was the first like interactive year really, and like every haunted house was represented by an inmate box in Shady Brook. So like kind of every house in 2004 is sort of set in the memories of a patient in psychotherapy. So I just think that's kind of cool. But so this particular patient was like a PA on the set of this movie they're making, and you know, a bunch of crazy shit happened, and then he gets sent to Shady Brook.
So was the concept that they're filming a movie and then the real icons show up? Are they filming a movie about the icons?
So I guess they're filming a movie about the icons, but I think the movie is starring the icons.
So like, Jack the Clown is on payroll?
Jack the Clown is on payroll.
What?
They keep hiring. In universe, Halloween Horror Nights keeps like Universal Studios pays this like Eastern European snuff film director a licensing fee to come to, like, that's the idea of the director, is that he's a real serial killer snuff film director that Universal paid. And I love the idea that they're like, yeah, we'll tarnish our brand.
What number on the call sheet do you think the caretaker was?
I don't know. I bet he's not top billing though on the poster.
Yeah, probably.
So when they were making this movie, there was a lot of contention between the caretaker, the director, and Eddie, because Jack got top billing on the poster, and they were like, "What the fuck? Your year was like 4 years ago, dude." The director's over here like, "I'm the director. I was your last deal," and Eddie's like, "No one knows who I am." No, the director it said directed by the director at the bottom. They didn't, because as you know, even Universal Orlando doesn't know how to spell his name.
There's a lot of drama behind the scenes.
Oh, there was a lot of drama behind the scenes, and there was a lot of creative differences. The director, he really wanted to run the show, but turns out he wasn't directing the movie. He was getting paid to act in the movie, and he did not like that. He wanted to not only he wanted to Alfred Hitchcock that shit, he wanted to Stanley Kubrick that shit, but he really wanted to Mel Gibson that shit. He wanted to act and star. So Eddie had a Christian Bale rant. Eddie is, he's more of an underground star. He has a more of a smaller fan base, and the caretaker wanted to bring his daughter to work, and little Cindy is she's really it was out of Showgirls, Cindy's oh, the monkeys, oh wow, and the caretaker, the Eddie is can you shut the fuck up? The Cindy is oh, she said a no word. And so the caretaker, I don't know who the is in this haunted house. The caretaker this is why the caretaker and Eddie don't talk anymore. And to this day, they always put them separate floats, separate scenes. You can never have the caretaker and Eddie together. They just really don't with each other. They don't mesh. I know, Universal, they put out publicly Eddie and Jack have a feud. They're feuding brothers, sibling rivalry. That's all public. That's pro wrestling. Behind the scenes, real life, Eddie don't fuck with the caretaker. They cannot be professional whatsoever. The caretaker, anytime he sees Eddie, he's got a string of pearls ready. He's throwing that shit. And then he's roller skating around like he's in Scooby-Doo. But he hasn't broken his leg yet, so his dancing career isn't over. Every time the caretaker comes out of the bathroom, he'll call Cindy. He's Cindy, they're gonna use me again this year. And he's crying like Natalie Portman in Black Swan. And he comes out and Eddie has written on the mirror, whore!
Jack the Clown's that was me seducing you. Such a specific joke. Is anyone else gonna find this funny?
I don't think Black Swan is the Horror Nights crowd's movie. Maybe. I would love a Black Swan house.
It sounds conceptually like something I would really want to do. So I can understand why it would be so disappointing.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I guess that's the thing is if you told me that there was going to be, I don't know, an Icon's house at Halloween Horror Nights 30, I would be very excited about that. We got an Icon's house 16 years ago and it was shit. And it wasn't great. It was okay. It was fine. It was firmly lower middle of the road. Horror Nights Nightmares. Good house. No, it wasn't. It wasn't good. Coming in at 126, and in last place for this week is a house from 2005, another house from 2005, Where Evil Hides. This was in Soundstage 18. This is the only house to have ever been in Soundstage 18. I'm a terrible host, and I didn't tell you that Horror Nights Nightmares was the only house to ever be in Soundstage 44. So, Where Evil Hides was 2005, so that was part of Terra Cruentus with the Terra Queen and the whole country of Terra Cruentus that they created. And this was part of that kind of narrative, and I didn't really get into that with Cold Blind Terror because I hated that house and I just wanted to get it over with. But both of these houses were in that narrative kind of set beyond the path, and they kind of poorly fit the theme, and I think that's why they were trials of terror as part of the story. But essentially, this house was the icon house for the storyteller, and it is very clear that she was kind of shoehorned into it. I'll read you the description. Remember the worst fears of your imagination that lurked under the bed, in the closet, and under the stairs? They're back. And kind of the whole plot of the house was that you were experiencing all of those little things that you as a kid kind of were afraid of. So, the monsters in the closet, the monster under the bed, the man outside the window, the thing under the stairs, whatever's in the attic, the stuff in the basement, anything that something creepy could be that you as a child is, oh, f*** with the basement. that was kind of the plot of this house. And in theory, kind of like all of the houses in this section of the list, I liked that. And in application, I kind of felt like this was originally supposed to be a Halloween house. Like they were gonna maybe do it off-brand. The facade, it was not like it was not the house from Halloween, but it like felt like it. And then like you go inside and the very first scares are a bunch of hallway closet doors and literally Michael Myers jumping out at you. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, guys dressed like Michael Myers jumping out with butcher knives to scare you. And, like, I didn't understand what they had to do with the boogeyman and with this kind of idea, but there was Michael. I mean, I guess I do get it, is the boogeyman, right? But it didn't, like, make sense in the context of this house. I like the idea that it's the boogeyman, but, like, under your bed is, like, Rob Zombie. Like, yo, boogeyman, boogeyman! I enjoy the cast list for this house. Werewolf, flying vampire, girl in pig's tails, Michael Myers 3 times, specter, demon, closet monster. There's an actress, there's a picture of this actress. She's got like the Terra Cruentus symbol like all over her, and she's like huddled up in the attic, and this house had absolutely nothing to do with Terra Cruentus. I feel like it was a back house they had in their backlog of like ideas from previous years that they like decided to use that year, and it absolutely did not fit the theme. It didn't fit the high fantasy horror. It was classic ooky spooky with everything about it felt shoehorned into the event. They needed a house to put the storyteller in. They had one that they probably had planned for a previous year or they threw together for this year, and it was shit. Why is this house higher than Horror Nights Nightmares or the other houses behind it? I don't know. There's a lot of houses on this list. Cause when I was sitting there going, I was like, yeah, I guess I didn't hate it as much as that one. That's this whole show in a nutshell. Okay, so is expectation versus reality a factor in how the list gets made? Probably, to an extent, for some of them. I think definitely with icons, it made it pretty low because of expectations. I would say with like other things, they made it pretty low because of expectations. But also, I feel like just because I've envisioned something, I can accept what is given to me if it's quality. There's just some behind the scenes photos the casts have posted of like, it's like a werewolf like teabagging a guy. Like, this is way better than anything in this shitty haunted house. There's other cute things though. Like, I remember one of the scenes, there's like no photos, so I'm sorry, was like a little girl's bedroom, and I remember there being like rain on the window, which I thought was cool, and like there being an actor outside of the window, and that was like, ooh, creepy. I remember the thing everyone talks about with this house is it was a 2-story house, which they've only done like 2 or 3 times ever. And this is really cool actually, and they do this to this day, honestly. If they ever do the slanty floor, they will build an alternate version, an alternate path for people who are differently abled to be able to experience the same thing. And they did that with this. They built the attic scene twice. So you would go upstairs and be able to experience it, or you would go down the hallway and be able to experience the exact same scene, which I thought was really cool. And if you got the upstairs version, there was a big pit in the attic scene, and a vampire on a bungee would launch out of the ground and jump up at you, which was honestly f***ing cool as shit. It was the coolest thing about this house. It was the reason this house is worth remembering. But you also had a lot of dumb shit. You had, like, they stuck the storyteller in there. They didn't know where the f*** to put her. So she's just, like, in a corner, like, just, like, I remember when I did the house, it was, like, the bitch just looked over it. She was just sitting there, like, nodding at people, like, walking by, and she's like, yeah, I don't get my character either. It's just, like, I have no bearing on this haunted house. I'm just here because marketing made me up, and they need me at the event. And I remember the guy from the commercial on the bed of nails with the anvil above him was like a dummy, and he looked really shitty. I feel like he like looked deflated. At least I remember he kind of looked deflated. He like really looked like a dummy. He didn't look like a human at all. That image of this like 23-year-old girl with like old lady face paint on, but the rest of her like was just sitting there looking young and kind of bored and just being like, I have the worst role this year. And it just kind of like completely taking the wind out of this, like what could have been an amazing moment of you rounding the corner and like, wow, I went upstairs, what's gonna happen? And a f***ing vampire like bursting out of the ground. This cool, I just spit everywhere because I'm disgusting. So there's this picture of the storyteller actress from the house, and to just give you an idea of how hastily thrown together this house was, her book of stories has like a piece of like construction paper taped over the cover. It's just like, I don't even know what it says. It's Dianetics.
Hello, I'm the storyteller. Would you like to learn about thetans? Here, you put your hands around these metal clamps.
That's where evil hides. Mm-hmm. The storyteller is a Scientologist. The caretaker and Eddie do not f*** with each other. And Jack gets top billing always. That wraps things up. What is the order? Is it that wraps things up?
Hey, you guys
did all right. Don't quit your day job. Say cheese.
See you later.
But don't quit your J job. But don't jit your JJ.
Don't jit your J job.
Yeah. So that was houses 130 through 126. Coming in at 130, we had The Walking Dead, The Living and the Dead. At 129 was Havoc Derailed. 128 was Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. 127 was The Horror Nights Nightmares. And coming in at 126 was Where Evil Hides. So thank you guys once again for tuning in for another week of the Horror Nights Gauntlet. If you've been enjoying yourself, I would really appreciate it if you would do the thing, like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell. You're supporting the show, you're helping me out, and you're helping reach a broader Horror Nights fandom. So thank you again so much for sticking through. And this week, maybe let me know down below, what's your favorite monster you like to see at Horror Nights? Maybe you're a vampire queen, maybe you're a Frankenstein stan. I want to know. I want to start engaging with you guys, and look forward for the immediate horizon, because we've got some special episodes coming up. Maybe some design challenges, maybe some ghosts of voices we've heard lurking in the background. So stick around, and thank you so much for watching the Horror Nights Gauntlet, only on Cathode Coaster. We have fun on this show.
We have fun here.
I'm sorry, episode.
Fuck off, I'm not coming here. Fucking baby shower.
Listen, everybody, I'm sorry episode 2 sucked. I wasn't in the right headspace to do it, and that's why it took so long to edit.
I think a little drunker.
I had to drink a little more out of my Walmart cup.